Good evening. Welcome to Live United. My name is Nikki Sauber. I'm here in lieu of our usual host, Kelly Steiner. And we're here tonight to talk about living united, working together in the Monadnock region to make it better for our citizens. Today I have guests from Monadnock Area Transitional Shelter. I have Mary Loftus and Ernie Beltate, and we're very happy to have them here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would love to hear more about Monadnock Area Transitional Shelter. We might call it MATS for the sake of keeping it short and sweet. So tell me about the history of the organization.
Sure. Back in 1990, a group of people in the Peterborough community area decided that there was a need for transitional shelter. So through the churches and the people in the Peterborough area, they formed the Monadnock Area Transitional Shelter in 1991.
Okay.
And in the beginning, the shelter had a different format than it does now. The apartments throughout Peterborough were organized and rented by the organization, and there was no sort of central location. So over time, that's changed so that we now, the organization owns an apartment building in Peterborough that has 4 apartments and is available to, we call them guests, for up to usually 3 months to a year as they get their lives back together and find permanent housing.
I see. So back in 1990 and 1991, when the organization was coming to be, what were the indicators that sort of showed that there was a need for transitional shelter in the Peterborough area?
Yeah, we were seeing a lot of homelessness in the area. The people in the local churches decided that it was a good idea, at least to start talking about it, to help people in the community that were homeless. And you can become homeless many different ways, whether it's a financial problem or a domestic violence problem or a divorce or a loss of a job. So that's how they decided to form the MAT shelter.
We realized, and continue to realize, that sometimes people who are sort of living on the edge, there's sort of a domino effect, and if just one domino goes over, it causes this reaction. If they lose a viable car, they have no transportation to get to work, and they lose their job. If they're in a bad relationship and they have to move out, they have no place to go. So as Ernie said, the beginning of the cycle can start in a lot of ways, but the goal of the organization is to help people sort of break the cycle and get back to sort of a viable way of supporting themselves and their homes. And we realize that really having a secure home is such a basic human need. It's hard to look for a job if you don't have a home. You can't provide a stable environment for your children if you don't have a home. And so having a safe and secure place allows people to regroup and we're finding stay out of homelessness in the future.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah, and those are very good points, speaking to the importance of having transitional shelter is that stable foundational piece to make the road back to stable housing a lot easier. In the 25 years that MATS has been in operation, have you seen much of a change in this instances of homelessness in Peterborough area, or maybe a change in the cause of homelessness? I guess a change in the landscape I'm asking about.
I think it's, and I can speak for the past 10 years, I think it's stayed about the same, probably has gotten a little worse as far as homelessness. Like Mary says, I mean, we see several different types of circumstances that lead people to homelessness. And I think it's something that it's a good organization. I think it's got a good, strong mission, and it's very well supported by the people in the community, in the Peterborough community, in outlying areas.
One unfortunate change we have noticed, even in the 3 years I've been on the board, is that the wait for affordable housing is getting longer and longer. 3 years ago, someone might expect to be on a waiting list for a year, and now it's 2 years.
Yep.
And so consequently, our guests are often with us for longer and longer periods.
Yeah, that's correct. Affordable housing, I think, is the key issue that I see in the area, not only in the Peterborough-Jaffrey area, but also up in the Keene area too. Like Mary said, it's affordable housing. The waiting list 1 year to 2 years now, so we are taking people a little longer. Our guests are staying a little longer, but the goal here is to get them back on their feet. That's the ultimate goal, and we provide just about everything for these people when they come in, when these guests come in, from housing, fixing vehicles, support with getting all of their, whether they need child support, applying for this, helping with taxes, helping with budgeting. Our case manager, who's full-time now, we've taken her on full-time as of 2 years ago, was probably one of the best things we ever did, not only buying a house that we're all housed under one roof, but she's got an office there, and she's able to see the guests every day now, which I think is very, very important, and to help them get back on their feet.
Yeah, another piece of consistency in their lives.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I think really the key to Matt's success.
Yep.
We're very lucky to have this particular person in the job. Her name is Susan Howard, and she's fantastic. But she is on site, and so not only is she able to help our guests access the resources to which they're entitled, but she also holds them accountable.
Yep.
And she's sort of like a dorm mother slash parent, and is compassionate but organized. And one part of her job is to spend a day at the River Center, which is another organization in Peterborough, which provides many resources for families. And it has a public location. And so she's able to meet at the River Center on Tuesdays with prospective guests, and also to meet people before they have the need for shelter, to sort of head off, help them access resources, so that she is a huge important aspect of our organization.
And Jane, she also helps them, with the housing, finding the housing. I think that's, here again, I've said that already once, but that is the issue that I see that really needs to be addressed in the area where we are, is affordable housing. So she also helps them, with the applications. And then, of course, Matt's follows up with helping with, security deposits and first month's rent. And, we do a lot for the guests to get them back on their feet.
Sure, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
And so you had mentioned, Mary, the River Center and that partnership. I was curious about what other types of partnerships or what other organizations Matt's might work with to accomplish all the great work that you do.
Well, we're an independent organization, which is sort of a unique model. We get all our funding through grants and private donations. And over the history of the organization, the community, larger Peterborough area, has been extremely generous in supporting MAPS year after year. We get many gifts from many people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the fact that we're an independent organization, we receive no funding from state or local or state or national sources, means that we can sort of circumvent a lot of red tape and
Exactly, and I think the people in the greater community area see the need for this transitional shelter and support it very heavily. And I certainly like to thank all the people that have supported that, over the years and continue to support it. I think it's a great, very good cause.
Our operating budget in 2015 was over $96,000. So, and all of that was raised
Yep.
independently.
Yep. Private
So,
donations,
yeah.
local grants.
Right.
We've reached out a little bit. We have a grant writer that's helping our financial people help us, try to raise money. Private donations are wonderful, but it's always nice to look at bigger sources too, for areas of helping us, like recurring homelessness and trying to prevent that. and dealing with those types of things. So.
Sure.
We also receive many generous donations of things, furniture and mittens and home goods from the community. And when guests have been at Matt's and then move out to their own homes, we're able to provide them with some of the things they need to set up their homes. And that's made possible by all these generous donations that we get from people.
Exactly. We set them all up in their apartments. Like Mary says, we have 4 apartments, and everything is organized and set up for them, and then whatever's in there they can take with them when they go, once they find an apartment to live on their own. We also sometimes look for donations for vehicles. Sometimes people have vehicles that break down, no longer inspectable, so we've donated vehicles to our guests before. It's unbelievable how people in the community are generous and to make that offer.
Sure. And so if members of our community are listening to this and watching this, and they were interested in donating some items, perhaps furniture or a vehicle, how would they get in touch with you?
We have our website. We have the Matt's Monadnock Area Transitional Shelter website, and P.O. Box 3053 is our P.O. Box that you could certainly send any donations or make any contributions would be appreciated.
Great, great. So I understand that the organization in its very successful 25 years is going to be celebrating that soon, and I would love to hear more about your 25th anniversary celebration events that are coming up.
Yeah, this is our 25th year, and we decided that it was a good idea not only for all former board members, which were all volunteer, but for people in the community, for all the donors, to have a celebration for a 25-year anniversary, which is scheduled at this point in November. We're still working out on the details, but we have a lot of things throughout the year that we're going to be doing too, not only to celebrate the 25 years, but also as fundraisers to Matt's for future things that we need to do at Matt's.
We're going to have sort of an initiative around the 25th anniversary to do some major renovations to our building. Time goes on and things are used hard sometimes, and they need to be refreshed and revamped, and all of that costs money.
Of course.
So we're hoping that some of the funds raised in conjunction with this milestone will be used for sort of capital improvements.
That's correct. Yeah, but it's also, that's the main goal, but it's also important to say thank you to all of the volunteers too. There have been many volunteers that have been on our board. Our board is up to 15 members. It's all volunteer over the years. And we still have some board members that still do a lot of volunteer work for us, primarily Hope Pettigrew, who writes articles in the local newspapers for us, promoting Matt's. So I think it's good to celebrate for that too, and say thank you to all the former board members as well, and guests. Guests will be invited too, former guests. So
that's wonderful. Great. And do you have any particular successes that you'll be celebrating in the 25 years?
There are a lot of them. We've,
Sure.
like I say, we've probably served over 600 people over the 25 years. But there are several. I don't have one in particular, but we've helped somebody. I can remember one case where was a single mom with an 18-month-old. She came into Matt's. She was working part-time, and she was going to school for LNA to be a nurse. And she just needed a little bit of financial help. We helped her with that. Not only did she complete her LNA, but she got a full-time job as a nurse, and she's currently in affordable housing. It's been a very good story, and our case manager stays in touch with her.
That's
That
fantastic.
was a couple, 2-3 years ago, so it worked out really well. So those are the good stories. You like the good stories.
Right.
Sure.
We actually sort of formalize the work that our case manager does after guests move out. She, because of the type of person she is, generally kept in touch with people after they left because she cared about them. But I think 2 years ago we received a grant from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, And part of that was targeted to preventing recurring homelessness. And towards that end, Susan has, just checked and make a sort of systematic check-ins with guests who move out to make sure things are going well, and if they're not, to troubleshoot and try to help them. So that's an important part of, which I think has evolved in maybe the past 5 years or so.
Yeah, since she's been there, she's been there probably about 6 years, full-time for the last 2. But now that she's full-time, she's able to do that. And that was some of the stuff that we set up with the River Center, too, when she goes there 8 hours a week and deals with the actual people in the community and helps them with a variety of things. But that's worked out very, very well.
Sure. And would you say that you see a lot of return or repeat guests in your shelter?
Not really, no.
That's great.
Most people have come on their own and come in, and then we've got them got back on their feet and out into an affordable housing, and they're working full time at jobs and raising their families.
That's wonderful. It speaks to the effectiveness of the work that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of job preparation, what sort of services do you provide to help people find stable employment and other things that will help them stay out of your shelters once they get back on their feet?
Well,
Or perhaps that's a question for your wonderful Susan.
yeah. I mean, she, does sort of, I'm sure, informal career counseling with them. For instance, we have someone coming in now, or just has just come to the shelter who, has done everything except an internship for the line of work she's been training for, and so Susan, and she's actually coming from out of the area, which is sort of unusual for us. Usually our guests are more local, but Susan, because she's not familiar with organizations around here, Susan is helping her, setting her up to try to find an appropriate place for her internship. So it sort of depends on the field that they're in, and a lot of the challenges around stable employment are tied in with childcare. And so Susan can help them figure out those challenges too, and when those are figured out, then they can work on the employment piece. So she really helps them fit all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Wow.
She does a very good job at it too. She does. Being I'm the president and Mary's the vice president. We deal with her almost every day. So it is. She does do a very good job communicating. She's got a history, with Monadnock Family Services. So she worked there for years prior to coming to us. So she has a lot of that training and experience. So it's nice, and I'm glad we have her.
She's someone that the guests universally like and respect.
Yep.
Too.
Yep. Yeah, she did.
And I have to say, the board is a very hands-on board.
Yep.
It's not a situation where you just go to a meeting once a month and that's it. I think a lot of the board members check in regularly.
Yep.
One thing I did just 2 weeks ago was to help one of the guests with a little vegetable garden at the shelter that we started last year. And this young mother and another one who's there now were interested in planting it. And so we got that going this year. And it's a nice sort of collaborative project with the adults and the children, who of course love to garden too.
Sure.
So, and we have a little space on the side where that's happening.
Oh, what a fun project.
Yeah.
Worked out very well.
Yeah.
Wow, well, it's really incredible all that you're doing with such a small staff and board, but it really shows how much can be accomplished when you have competent people really committed to making a difference. So I'm curious, for volunteers, I understand it's challenging to involve volunteers in your work. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that and share that with our audience tonight.
That's tough. Volunteers is tough because the confidentiality is the most important piece, not only for the guests, for the board members in our location is volunteer, is secure, obviously. Volunteering is hard. I guess monetary would be the best thing that I could think of. You know, if you would love to have someone make a donation, whether it's for our car fund or for our general, you know, general services that we provide. You know, it's hard because if you're dealing with guests and you're dealing with confidentiality and dealing with young children, we just don't want people knowing where all these people live. Because a lot of these cases, unfortunately, sometimes is domestic violence related, which makes it, most of the time, these people might not even know, you know, where they're living. Family might not know where they are because we keep it that way. So it's hard for me to say unless, you know, I don't have, it's hard to volunteer. I don't know, Mary, if you have anything that you can think of as far as what they can volunteer other than monetary?
Yeah, or if anyone's interested in joining the board,
Joining the board, yeah. We're always looking for good board members as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And so, one more time, if anyone's interested in getting in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach you? Just to share with our audience.
Our website is under Monadnock Area Transitional Shelter, our P.O. Box 3053 in Peterborough. And we do have a phone number, 924-5033 is our phone number, and our case manager answers all those calls.
Great. Yeah. So is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up this evening?
All I would like to say is, I've said it a couple of times already, you know, Matt's wouldn't be where it is today without the generosity of the people in the community. The people that have volunteered, the people that have made contributions over the 25 years has been incredible. I guess that's the biggest piece that I've taken, you know, being on the board for the past 9 years, is how the support is just so wonderful in the greater Peterborough community.
Actually, an example of that I heard about when I first came on the board was a couple had just gotten married, and in lieu of wedding gifts, they asked their wedding guests to give contributions to Matt's.
Oh.
And, you know, I think that's sort of typical of the generosity we're so honored to accept.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We thank the people in the community for it.
Wow. Very kind. I can't thank you enough for coming on our show tonight. Again, we had Mary Loftus and Ernie Baltate from Monadnock Area Transitional Shelter with us this evening. And so as we sign off tonight, if anybody has any questions about what this organization does, you're welcome to contact them directly, or you can reach out to the Monadnock United Way office. And just want to remind everybody to give, to advocate, to volunteer, to live united. Thanks.